So, what we're looking at is the handout for section 1.1. So, the example we're looking at right now is 2017 Hollywood movies. So, it gives us a data set on all 136 movies released in Hollywood in 2017. The table just shows 6 of the movies that I chose to display. So, what we have is the title of the movie, the studio that produced it, the rating that the movie got, the score on Rotten Tomatoes, the genre of the movie, the budget that it had, and how much money it made on opening weekend, both in millions of dollars. So the first question wants to know, what are the cases of the data set? So the cases are going to correspond to the rows. So each row is going to be a different case. And each row is a different movie. So our cases are just going to be the movies of 2017. Then we want to identify each variable as quantitative or categorical. So the title of the movie, since it deals with a word, is going to be categorical. The lead studio, since again it's going to be a word, that indicates that it's going to be a categorical variable. The rating, still a word, so it's categorical. The percentages for the Rotten Tomato score is also going to be now a quantitative variable because it's a number, and that number actually means something. It's how well they believe the movie did or how well the movie was received. So this one is going to be quantitative. The genre tells us which category the movie goes in, so since it's dealing with a category, it's going to be a categorical variable. And then budget is a number, and the number itself actually means something. It's a measurement in dollars of how much it costs the movie to make. So that one's going to be quantitative, and same thing for opening. Since it's measured in dollars, it's a number that actually measures something. It's also going to be quantitative. So the whole idea behind statistics is we're trying to answer questions based on data. So we can try to think of some questions that we could ask that involves a single variable. So we can look at any of the variables up here. So for example, a question we could ask is, which studio made the most movies in 2017? So we would just kind of go through the list of all 136 movies, count up each different studio, how many times they appear, and whichever one appears the most would be the answer that we could answer for that particular categorical variable. So this one involves a categorical variable, so let's look at one that may involve a quantitative variable. So we can go through and see which movie had the largest budget. So there's a bunch of different questions you can ask. There's basically an unlimited number of them, but specifically for these are two of them, the ones that we could think of when we're trying to do, and we're trying to ask a question for this particular data set for a single variable at hand. So more commonly though in statistics, we're interested in trying to see if there's a relationship or association between two variables. So what we can test, or what we can try to answer, is potentially which studio made the most horror movies. So if I'm interested in trying to pitch a movie to a particular studio, it may not be the best idea to propose Disney, since Disney probably made 0 horror movies in 2017, compared to someone like Universal or Warner Brothers, who make a fair amount of horror movies. So this question involves 2 categorical variables. So we could also look at one categorical and one quantitative. So we could see which rating had the highest average opening weekend. So we could go through for every single rating. For G rating, calculate the average opening, PG rating, average opening, PG-13, average opening, R-rated, average opening. We can compare those and see which rating ended up having the highest overall opening weekend. Again, just like the previous one, there's an unlimited number of questions you can ask. These are just 2 specific ones. So example 2 deals with eating yogurt and weight loss. So we want to know, can eating a yogurt a day cause people to lose weight as compared to not eating yogurt? So in the study we're investigating, we want to know what are the cases. So again, the cases are who we're trying to learn about. So we're trying to learn about people. So our cases are going to be just people in general. So B wants to know what are the variables, and then is each variable categorical or quantitative? So the cases are going to be our who. The variables are going to be our what. So what are we collecting, or what are we trying to learn about them? So in this case, we have two different variables. So whether or not someone eats a yogurt a day. So when you're trying to ask yourself, is this a categorical variable or is this a quantitative variable? You want to ask yourself the question that they're asking these people or our cases. Figure out how would you answer the question. So if someone asks if you eat a yogurt a day, you do answer that with a yes or no. So since we're answering it with a word and there's two particular categories or two outcomes, that's going to be a categorical variable. The other one is wanting to see how much weight they lost. So if someone asks how much weight that someone lost, that would be, you'd answer that with a number that's actually measuring something. So that one would then be a quantitative variable. And then C just wants to know what might a data set look like that might help us answer the question. So general, we're going to have the person's name that we're using, and then each corresponding column of our table is going to record one of the variables. So we have two different variables, so we'll add two more columns. Whether or not they have a yogurt a day, and then how much weight they lost. So that's going to be the three columns of our table, and then the rows are going to correspond to the cases, or in this case, the people. So maybe we have John, who doesn't eat a yogurt a day, and over the course of the little study that they're doing, John ended up losing 2 pounds. So maybe Sally does eat a yogurt a day and she ended up losing 10 pounds over the course of the study. So this would just keep going for each person in the study. So if they have 20 people in their study, they'd end up having 20 rows. And since we have two variables, they'll end up with two columns for the variables, and then one to identify where the particular data comes from. So the next question wants to know, give the cases and the variables in each situation below and identify each variable as categorical or quantitative. So again, what a case is going to be, it's who we're collecting information on. So A says, asking U.S. citizens whether or not they support gun control. So our who, or our cases, are going to be the U.S. citizens, because that's who they're asking. And then the what is going to be our variables, so what information they're collecting about them. So they're collecting whether or not they support gun control. So if someone asked you if you support gun control, you either answer that with a yes or a no. Since we answer it with a word, that's going to tell us it's a categorical variable. B says, asking college students how many hours of sleep they got last night. So again, who we're asking is going to be our cases. So that's going to be college students, because that's who we're collecting our information on. And then our what is going to be the variables. So the only thing that we're asking each student is how many hours of sleep they got. So you'd answer that with a number, and since that number actually records something, that's going to be a quantitative variable. So now we want to know, can eating yogurt a day cause people to lose weight? In a study investigating this, we want to know what the explanatory variable is and what the response variable is. So we already found that our two variables are whether or not someone eats yogurt and how much weight they lose. So when we're trying to figure out the explanatory variable and the response variable, what we're looking at is kind of a cause and effect relationship. So we're trying to see which one do we think causes the other one to happen. So we can either think that does eating yogurt cause people to lose weight, or does losing weight cause people to eat yogurt? And so obviously they're looking at the first one. So in that case, that means that yogurt would be our explanatory variable, and then that weight loss would be our response variable, because this is the cause and this would be the effect. So the last question says, in each situation indicate the explanatory and the response variable. So does meditation help reduce stress? So again, we want to identify what's different or what's changing. So our variables are going to be whether or not somebody meditates and somebody's stress level. So we have meditation and stress. So we want to see, does meditation cause their stress level to change, or does stress level cause them to meditate? So it makes more sense, and what the question is proposing is that meditation helps people reduce stress, so the meditation is the cause, stress level is the effect. So our explanatory is going to be meditation, and that our response variable, what is changing, is their stress level. And then B says, is hyperactivity in children affected by sugar consumption? So children would be our cases, and what's varying from child to child is their hyperactivity level and how much sugar they consume. So they want to know, is hyperactivity in children affected by sugar consumption? So we want to know, does hyperactivity affect sugar consumption, or is sugar consumption our cause, and is it affecting their hyperactivity? So we want to know, is hyperactivity affected? So this means that hyperactivity is going to be our effect part of our cause and effect relationship. So our explanatory variable is the cause, which is going to be sugar consumption. And then our response variable is going to be how hyperactive the child is.